solutionist of rock. He's been performing now for nearly 4 decades with no inclination to retire.
That's my way of working now. It's all about me.
These days, David Bowie has morphed again, this time into a new, more down-to-earth role, that of a happily married, middle-aged dad. Is it true that you aren't very fond of changing nappies?
Oh, it's absolutely the gospel, yeah.
Changing style, changing image, changing himself. Back in his heyday, he was so famously full of drugs and alcohol that maybe he didn't understand what he was on about himself. But as Charles Woolley reports, Bowie's on the straight and narrow now. He's dried out and calmed down. Or at least, that's what he claims.
He rose to fame as a fabulous illusionist of rock. Ever-changing, always outrageous, and more bizarre by the moment.
New York's a go-go and everything tastes nice.
These days, David Bowie has morphed again, this time into a new, more down-to-earth role, that of a happily married, middle-aged dad. Is it true that you aren't very fond of changing nappies?
Oh, it's absolutely the gospel, yeah.
Can you count the number of nappies you've changed?
Yes.
Because my wife was saying she could count the number of times.
It is a bit like that with me. I think I'm there for her when it's walking and talking. I mean, I read to her all the time, and I kind of try and introduce her to new things and get her excited about stuff, you know. But, well, both my wife and I do that. But I'm much happier in the capacity as mentor.
For Bowie, the marriage to supermodel Iman is his second. He lives in New York with a Somalian-born beauty and their baby Alexandria.
I got so lost on the shore.
His lyrics are still dark, but at 55, Bowie is rich, comfortable, and in remarkable health for one who was once so hopelessly addicted to cocaine and alcohol. Now, you haven't lived an exemplary life. What's the trick?
Oh, no, it's my mum's genes.
But is it true that you haven't had a drink or you haven't taken anything for 20 years?
Absolutely, I'm a clean machine, yeah, very. Coffee is really a tough one. And more recently, I've kind of knocked cigarettes on the head. Well, do you know what? That's tougher than any of them. Whoa. Nicotine, forget about it.
You sure really in this terrible town.
Professionally as well as personally, David Bowie is a survivor. He's been performing now for nearly 4 decades with no inclination to retire. He's just launched a new album, Heathen, and while many of his old rock peers have faded away, Bowie's music and style is still contemporary and endlessly emulated and analysed. As a writer, are you often amused by the way people deconstruct the lyric and find a meaning in it that you didn't maybe
Oh,
read?
sure. Yeah, it's...
Do you accept it if it's a good read or reject it if it's...
I do, frankly. I mean, sometimes the interpretations I've seen on some of the songs that I've written are a lot more interesting than the input that I put in.
Such as?
No. I don't want to take the mystery away.
Yeah. For a man who's helped change the face of modern music, David Bowie had fairly uninspiring beginnings, growing up in bleak and battle-scarred post-war Britain.
London was just this terrible, tragic-looking wasteland.
Good desolation images for later songs.
Yeah, it was. I think it probably did influence a bit of the writing in that way. It's interesting, you know, when I first went back to have a look at the World Trade Center area, that was the one thing that struck me about it, is that I thought, oh my God, it looks like London East End, you know, when I was a kid. That's what it looked like when I was about 7. Then it brought it all back, what London was like at that particular time. And it was grey, and it was a pretty poor place in those days.
Like so many of his generation, Bowie was seduced by all things American, but most importantly, by the music.
When I heard Little Richard, I mean, it just set my world on fire. I thought, wow, what's this got to do with me or London? But I want a piece of that. That's really fantastic. And I saw the sax lineup that he had behind him, and I thought, I'm going to learn the saxophone, and when I grow up, I'm going to play in his band. So I sort of persuaded my dad to get me a kind of a plastic saxophone and a hire purchase plan. You know, sort of those hire purchase plans he had in those days. HP.
HP, yeah.
Yeah, and about, $3 bob a week or something for a saxophone. And really, that sort of was really my start into music.
That was a great investment that you had.
It was, yeah, it was. Good old Dad.
The early 70s that launched Bowie into the stellar orbit of rock superstardom. So began a crazy, drug-fueled ride that was to redefine modern music. Along the way, the strangely androgynous Bowie invented glam rock, helped launch heavy metal and disco, and even inspired punk. He survived the worst excesses of the rock and roll lifestyle, but only just. When it was all over, Bowie landed with a thud. Hopelessly addicted to drugs and alcohol, he'd almost self-destructed.
It's a bit like taking a chance on a rocket ship. You know, it might be, and I can't avoid the fact that some of it was terribly exciting, but if you get on that rocket, it's very likely to explode under you and you'll die. You know, but it's the kind of, you know, you're taking a real chance by doing it.
The writer Norman Mailer said that alcohol gave him as much as it took from him. Do you feel the same about drugs?
That's an interesting point. That could well be true. Reluctantly, you have to admit it. I think it can open up channels of imagination that maybe were close to you. But the interesting thing is that once they are open, if you've got your wits about you, you can keep them open.
While Bowie beat his drug habit, there is another enduring problem he's been unable to overcome, a simple fear of flying. Now, where does this fit into your life?
It allows me to just write about space as opposed to going into it.
How did you get here? How did you get to Paris if you don't like flying?
I got the train, mate.
What do you feel as the plane takes off?
Terror.
But you know the actuarial figures. I mean, you're a businessman these days. You know that it's safer to get in a plane than to drive a taxi across town.
I know, isn't it ridiculous? It's absolutely ridiculous. I guess with, you know, the confluence of recent events have really sort of indicated to me that if I've got the chance to take the boat, then I will.
What happens to you when you drink?
I see things.
What thing?
Bodies.
Having made his musical mark, Bowie went on to explore new creative frontiers. He became an actor, and quite a good one. Meanwhile, Bowie continues to win over a new generation of fans.
Quiet! A goblin, babe.
My 9-year-old son wanted me to be home, and I said, I can't, I've got one more interview to do. And he said, well, who is it? And I said, well, it's nobody you've ever heard of. It's David Bowie. And he said, David Bowie, that's really cool. A 9-year-old.
Actually, there is a generation that kind of know about Labyrinth, which is the kids' film I made. A lot of kids are brought up to me and the mums say, this is Jareth from Labyrinth.
We come in there.
David Bowie is now rock royalty, but unlike his contemporaries, Sir Bob, Sir Paul, Sir Elton and Sir Mick. He's happy to grow old gracefully without a gong.
What about a knighthood? Do you think you might get a nod from
I
the
very
Queen?
much doubt it. I think I've
Well,
made,
some bad boys have got knighthoods.
I think I've made my feelings about it very clear. I'm just an individual who doesn't feel that I need to have somebody qualify my work in any particular way. I'm working for me.
David Bowie is at peace with himself. After decades of publicly confronting his demons and in the end overcoming them, he seems happy to be a private person. And musically, this elder statesman of rock is happy to suit himself.
I think it all comes back to being very selfish as an artist. I mean, I really do just write and record what interests me. And I do approach the stage shows in much the same way. It's the old adage, I mean, you can't please all the people all the time, you know, so you just don't try. So I have to please myself first. And if I'm happy, then my presumption is there's going to be a certain amount of people that will be happy too. But that's my way of working now. It's all about me. Thank you.
Here shall we live in this terrible town with a price for our lives. Shall squeeze them tight like a fist. The walls shall have eyes and the doors shall have ears. Oh, we'll dance in the dark, but they'll play with our lives. Leading us on and on and on, like a turning us round and round and round. And who are we? So small in times such as these. So these are the days, these are the strangest of all. These are the nights, these are the darkest of all. Who knows? Echoes in tenement halls. Who knows? Oh, the years snare us all. But like a leading us on and on, like a turning us round and round, upside down. There's fear overhead, there's fear overground.
Thank you.